All right, Mo. Thank you very, very much for joining me on the Animal Rescue Podcast.
You're welcome.
I am really excited to talk to you. I know you work with John from Humble Canine, right?
Yeah, I used to. For personal reasons, I don't work there anymore. But I used to work there, and I loved it. Yeah, it was awesome.
So I started seeing some of your stuff on his post, and so I started following you, and just really, I love what you do with the dogs, like the way you interact with them. I just really love the energy that you bring to training.
Thank you.
So I really wanted to talk with you about, first, how did you get started in training?
I got started, since a really impressionable age. I've been interested in interacting with animals and speaking their language. But the transitioning point was because I was a wag walker. I was doing all the rover stuff. I was doing like all of this, just to get in on the scene, and I was doing a really good job of it. And I got most of my clients into the table, and it was okay. But then when COVID hit, things started going south for me, and I really needed an out. And at the time, I had a best friend who was interested in helping me, and so she said, because she had worked for Humble Canine, so she's actually the head trainer. Her name's Eleanor. Great, and what she does as well. Yeah, and she got me in on that scene with him, and he actually really quickly became like an awesome teacher, father figure for me, and I was learning from him on the daily. I was picking up all the hours that I could. I wanted to help him out. I wanted to make his life easier. It was like a transitional experience for me. Yeah. It was huge. I learned a lot just from him, just from being around him and watching him interact with the animals. But he would also be very intentional about it. Like, look, watch what I do here, and I was like, okay, this is a teacher, And very soon after, I began to, because I never labeled myself as a trainer. I didn't care much for that label. But one thing led to another, and one day he looks at me and he's like, you are a dog trainer. And because I had intentions of just being like the videographer and like doing the creative aspect of it. Yeah, because I'm good at that too. I can do, but it turns out I'm multifaceted, which is dope,
right?
Because a lot of people and a lot of dogs can benefit from that. So
yes, for sure.
Yeah, that is, I think, right now for the time being, a really strong calling of mine. But I'm not super attached to the label of a trainer, but I am interested in the work and the weight of it. So, but yes. Okay. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry. Did you?
Yes.
Was there?
No, that totally answers it. That's good. That's good.
Oh, good.
So I love watching the videos that you post of you working with different dogs. Like, how do you create a connection with each of the dogs?
Is it clear to bring back Loki?
It super depends on the dog, because it's not always, it's never the same. It's never the same. No two dogs are the same. So if you're dealing with a really shut down dog or a really defensive dog, you just kind of have to stay in the seat of inquiry and receptivity and decide, okay, what is the smallest, most impactive yet like connection oriented move that I can do right now, and you just figure that out on the daily and you cultivate that. So that's not there's no like one formula. There is no you got to have a game plan to a certain extent. Like, it's good to have that kind of structure and apply it, but there's just no one way to get it done. Every single one is like it's a really intricate process.
Yeah.
You have to tune in. So
what are things that people can do to help create a better connection with their animals?
What are things that people can do to help create a better connection with animals? Okay, stop being so goal oriented. That's my number one. Because it's good in the human world to be really goal oriented, because you can find drive in that, and get all what you want done and need done. like, done.
Yeah.
But in the dog world, they're 1000% in the moment. So they're just
Okay.
meeting you right there, like where you're at the present moment. And
Okay.
and if you have a goal, sometimes there's a little bit of that applies a little bit of unnecessary pressure. There's a little bit of tension there, and some dogs don't do well with pressure and tension. And you just kind of have to notice, just if you can still make your mind still enough to notice what feels good to both you and the dog, that's fertile grounds for a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to be open enough and still enough to tune in and be like, okay, what do you need from me? And for some dogs, motion is more comfortable. For some dogs, it's like, okay, I'm more comfortable if you're doing something, in the same way that like some people learn better with an earphone in, like listen to music. You know what I mean? Like it's just background noise and it feels more comfortable, and you just know, and just notice. Every dog is different. So whatever their first, focus on making them feel safe and advocated for. If they don't feel like you're in their corner, you're not going to get anything done. So
how do you make a dog feel safe?
You recognize when there's a little bit of discomfort, and you make eye contact and you say, "Is this what do you need from me right now?" Energetically, and whether that's distance from another dog, or maybe we need to reset when you go back in the house, start the leash process over again, so there's less excitement. And whatever it is that they need from you, you need to at least show them that you're invested in figuring that out. Sorry if you hear stuff in the background. Chapo's playing with
You're good.
playing with a ball attached to a rope, and he's just going nuts. His whole wiener's out. It's awesome.
Oh my God. It's a purely authentic trainer animal podcast. I mean, no, this is perfect.
Yeah. And I notice what makes him happy. I'm not going to interfere with that. Yeah, but if I need him to simmer down a little bit, which I don't right now, but if I needed him to simmer down a little bit, he has the leash on him. So, right, the first rule is to always be in control. If you need him to drop something, you apply upward pressure until he drops it, and then release it. And then look him in his eyes and say thank you. Or unless, you should always say thank you to your dog, by the way. Always. If they do something that you like, if they're doing something in your favor, if they're advocating for you in some way by not jumping on your guests, to just look at them, like it can be an energetic thank you. It doesn't have to be a verbal. It's all energy for them. So, I forgot where I was going with this. but yeah, if your dog feels understood and safe, then you have so much fertile grounds for a really great and versatile relationship.
Yeah. How do you get yourself energetically in the right space to be healthy enough for your dog? I guess I don't know. How
Okay,
to say
that's
it.
a really good question. No, it's good. I think that a lot of the time we think the dog, like if we fix the dog, it's going to make us feel good, but actually it's quite the contrary. If we the better that we feel, and the more we make time to decompress and take care of ourselves, the better we are for our dogs. So if and there's some unnecessary pressure there as well, like how do I be better for you? You know what I mean? Like, would you want a partner that thinks that all the time? I mean, yes. Okay. Yes. You want someone that's interested in getting better and being healthier for you. Right. But for dogs, they don't necessarily have and hold that expectation. That's just like a human thing. We need to be careful about what we project onto our dogs. We have expectations of ourselves. We need to be careful not to project that onto them, because there are some emotions in the human world that dogs will see in their doggy eyes and their doggy vision. Sorry, hang on a second. I don't know where. Hang on. He's looking for the girls. He's looking for the dogs. So, I know I'm not going to play with you right now, but you have fun. Oh, he's just wonderful. Okay, so what was I going to say? How do you get in the right energetic space to work with your dog? If you're not in the right energetic space to work with your dog, you need to focus on the bare minimum of what it is that you can get done. A lot of the time that looks like something really uninteresting and boring, but is actually really impactful. So you can work on a common crate. You can really, you don't even have to go on a full-on walk. Just take the leash out and watch them calm down around it. Have the leash like in your hand, and then go to the fridge and put it down or something. You know what I mean? Like, notice what is exciting. Notice excitement starts to spike a little bit, and then just work that like a knot. You got to like massage it out. You can't expect it to all be fixed, and don't come in with a hard correction and be like, no, don't get excited about this thing, because they can't help it, just neutralize things. And a lot of the time that's an affordable energetic exchange for a dog. That is something that's like it's like the budget like training session. Like when you're feeling like some type of way, some days you can go on a hike and you can work on like eye contact, and you can work on like all of the really impactive and connective things. But the little stuff, that stuff matters too. And if you don't feel good doing it, your dog's gonna know. Your dog's gonna know. They're gonna know that you don't feel good doing it. They're not gonna feel good doing that either. So if it doesn't feel good to you, don't even go for the walk. You know what I mean? If it doesn't feel good to you, don't go in the car and go somewhere, because they're gonna know that you're doing it by obligation. Would you want an awful that's like, fine, get in the car, we'll go like you know what I mean? Like you could do it all day. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit it's rooted in our receptivity, and our willingness to connect a lot of the time is mighty. It's enough. So and they'll pick up on that. We just need to kind of slow down, and when there's stillness, there is clarity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, when you say, I mean, you use the example of just pulling the leash out and going to the fridge and then setting it down and seeing what they do.
Yeah.
Is that more in the sense of just kind of desensitizing the image of the leash?
Yes.
Or, okay.
The image or the smell of it or the association, just generally the association with a leash is so exciting for a dog. And people see a dog get zoomies and jump on the couch and run around and think that, oh, they're happy. No, they're not happy. They're just excited. Happy is the human association where we project onto our dogs much more. And I'm guilty of it too. I always project onto my dogs. But excited is not the same thing as happy. You know what I mean? And excitement is the same thing when you get the lunging and the barking on the walk. It's the same thing that is causing zoomies when you start. So, and that kind of energy can be dealt with across the board if you just start with the really minuscule things, the easy things. Don't get to the hard thing and be like, oh, well, shit, and then get mad at your dog. You know what I mean? It's not your dog's fault. Your dog doesn't need to be fixed. We just need a little bit more clear communication. And I'm going to learn how to speak your language because I care about you, and that's the kind of approach that we should really be taking with our dogs. We start from a psychological standpoint. You start from the psychological standpoint, and all the obedience stuff gets so easy. You'd be so shocked how easy it is when you have a solid connection with your dog that way, rooted in something that is psychologically sound.
Yeah. So, like, I know. So my dogs, they can be reactive on walks when they see other dogs. One of them in particular is very reactive to dogs on TV. So using that leash example, working on his TV reactivity help with his walk reactivity?
Yeah, most definitely. That's all connected. We got to figure out, because he can't even smell the dogs in the TV. We got to figure out why he's not in his nose, because that's the calm engagement. Why are you all in your eyes right now? I need you to calm down. Okay, so let's start with sounds. So when you're making breakfast, have a really good association. He smells eggs and bacon, right? And then just at a very low level, play the sound of dogs in the background. I'm sure you can find like 9 hours of just like dogs shuffling around and barking on YouTube, right? And just have that playing at a low level. When he's ready, turn it up a few notches, but you got to make sure that you're sensitive to the thresholds. How much can he handle right now? And can I turn it up a few notches or not? If not, we're going to sit there. We're going to settle in this threshold, in this little area until you're ready to move on, but you got to stay sensitive and receptive. Because every dog's different. He's not going to learn the same way your other dog does,
Right. So this is more of like a desensitization type of
Absolutely.
or positive
Yeah.
association, because dogs
Yeah,
work
you
so
can
much with
create a
their
positive
nose first.
association. Yes, they should work with their
Okay.
nose first. If they're not in their
Okay.
nose, then there's a problem. You need to make a little more space. If they're not using their nose and they're all in their eyes, okay, that's too much for them. You need to move away a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Oh, that's so
also
good.
like how you're talking about sensitization, that is one step. But if you want to create a positive association, sure, feed him some of that egg while he's listening. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
that's like one step further. And then act like nothing happened. Don't sit there and stare at him and be like, good job. You know, you want to be neutral, as neutral as possible, because too much positivity, too much positive reinforcement can also equal excitement. So
Right.
let's keep him at a manageable level, that level that we want him on at walks. Let's do that, more of that as much as we can. You get me?
Yeah. So
Sorry, you're
just,
frozen. There
can you
are.
hear me?
There you
Okay.
are. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, you're good.
So just as long as I'm maintaining a calm presence with, you know, a visual auditory stimulation, but having that smell and that taste be a positive connection to it, and just keeping everything
Yes.
calm.
Yeah, but that neutrality that you're accessing,
Yeah.
you should be able to access that in the real world. Don't look at your dog like they're going to do something wrong. Don't look at them like you're waiting for something bad to happen. That is a recipe for disaster. A lot of the time people don't realize that that kind of energy feeding into that dog is the concoction that causes the combustion. We don't need to be constantly expecting our dog. Imagine if parents treated their kids that way. Of course, what's the kid going to do? You know?
Exactly.
So let's you know, I understand legally, I understand their property, but they're living beings. They have so much, like, you know, like a lot of it is energetic work. So and they have so much to offer in abundance in exchange for the work that we will put in for them. But a lot of it comes down to how much can I meet, how can I see you eye to eye? Like, how can I get your mind to be still and settle and be peaceful? I want you to be at peace. How can I do that for you? How can I advocate for you? You know? And the more work you put into that, you'll find your walks will get a lot easier, but you need a solid foundation of trust and a lot of the time structure, maybe more than what's comfortable at first. And yeah.
Now on walks, I know that dogs need to be checking in with you. So the dog needs to be making eye contact with you periodically. What's more important though, them checking in with you or them walking next to you? Because, you know, my dogs, they'll walk loosely on the leash, but they'll still be a little bit ahead of me. They may or may not check in, but they're not pulling. They're not trying to rush ahead or get to the next smell.
Right.
What's the most important thing? Or
I would say I would want my dog to check in with me rather than walk perfectly. But that's just me. If your dog's not checking in with you, you need to create a little bit more distance and stillness if you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you mean by distance?
Yeah, so you create distance. If your dog's not paying attention to you or able to check in with you like that, the first time that you ask and there's too much stimulation, then you're too close.
Physically?
Yeah. Or just hot and cold, right? Goldilocks. You want to figure out where is it that you can still check in with me? We'll work there.
Okay, so making like the dog can be wherever he needs to be as long as he keeps checking in.
Yeah. Well, don't expect him to check in all the time. Sometimes you have to ask for it. But if they see something that is exciting or stimulating and they don't look at you first, if they don't look at you first and be like, what do I do about that thing? Then you're too close. Or if they immediately go forward to the thing, they don't look at you first, then you know that, and that's plenty of work. You can do that from your driveway.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
I do walks just in front of my house, just up and down the street, and I cross the street and do zigzags. I'm sure my neighbors all think that I'm nuts, but there are definitely pieces that I've been missing. So I will be adding those to the next walk.
Yeah, and there's no rule book anywhere that says you have to walk
Yeah.
in one linear. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's something that you should really tuck away. And when you feel like people might think a certain way about you, it doesn't. First off, it doesn't matter what they think. As a bully advocate, you need to not give a fuck what anyone
Right.
thinks. Pardon my language, but that
No,
is
you're-
actually like the key to legitimate. For me, it's been the key to
Mhm.
my advocacy. I have just with that mentality, I've gained the trust of a lot of dogs because they can feel
Yeah.
it.
Right.
They're like, oh, you're in my corner, like
Mhm.
you noticed when I felt uncomfortable about that thing. You led me away as a stable pack leader. You led me away from it, and then we worked from there. That's actually something that your dog notices.
Yeah. Well, and to use a similar analogy, like would you want to be around someone who isn't comfortable with, maybe you're being weird or maybe you're doing this or doing that? Like, you don't want to be around someone who is worried about what other people think. You want to be around people who don't care and just focus on having fun and being free and being themselves.
Because that's not really who you want around, because they don't know how to advocate for real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are your dog's ride or die. So the way that I look at it is if you, and it's all connected, if you don't advocate for your friends, for the people that you genuinely care about, there's no way I'm going to trust that you advocate for your dog. So, that's small circle shit. That's
Yeah.
that might even be irrelevant, but in my head, it's all connected.
Absolutely.
And we should keep it clear
Absolutely.
across the board, because you know how easy it is to confuse a dog. It's way too easy. We have all these human complications, and I find that when I keep my core values consistent with my dog training, I have a lot more success.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there's any kind of discomfort, if I see any kind of discomfort, I'm not going to be like, no, yeah, it's cool if you touch him. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like, no, please take some space, because he's clearly uncomfortable. He needs to be left alone. So that kind of advocacy is what your dog sees that and appreciates that. If you're not advocating for them and letting them get violated and they go into fawn mode or something, that is something that requires work to counter condition, and I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, well, and I have absolutely made that mistake. People always talk about you need to socialize your dog, you need to expose them to these different experiences, and
sure.
But no one ever really talks about what socialization is. And so I thought, well, I got to make sure that my dogs are meeting people and people are petting them and they're comfortable. They just let people touch them and do whatever they want. And so I was
until they go into fight mode.
Well, I was putting my dogs in these situations that it was scaring them so much. And I just thought, okay, maybe we just need to desensitize them or push them through this. But I now realize, like, that's not the point of socialization. And so, yes, we are absolutely in that, having to go back to square one and just completely start over with what social means and what that relationship between me and my dogs means.
It is
me and each of my dogs.
Yes, and that
each dog
needs
needs something different, right?
Yeah, it's a comfort space. It needs to be cultivated from a place of trust. If there's no trust, then there's only force. Then you won't have anything sustainable.
Right. And I definitely learned that one the hard way.
That's okay. Sometimes you have to learn some things I have learned the hard way as well.
Yeah.
So,
and as long as you're learning and you're making the changes necessary, that's the most important thing. So
1000%. And a lot of the time, if you can't energetically afford the change that you have, even you observe a change and you're like, oh shit, that's a big shift that needs to happen. You can make incremental changes along the way. I promise you. Sometimes that's even more impactful. 1 fiber at a time. You can make a really solid structure that way. So And there's no wrong and right way to do it. Like how you said, it's a relationship. My relationship with my healer is not the same as my relationship with my little mutt. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
all very
Yep.
different, and they all need their separate time together. And I'm constantly reading. I'm like, okay, what are you emitting right now versus what do you need? Okay, you're hungry, you're not. I'm not gonna feed you at the same time because I'm on
Yeah.
autopilot. I don't do that. I tune
Yeah.
into them. I'm looking at their stool. I'm doing all the things that, you know, the little stuff that matters.
Yeah.
And they notice.
Mm-hmm.
They'll notice. And you'll notice a difference when they notice. So
Yeah.
the primary foundation should be connection. You're right. Boundaries, structure, but a lot of connection.
Yeah.
You know, like would you want, if you had like a really, like, would you, if you were like in a dating process, you know, and you had maybe someone that you were kind of interested at first, but then they were really negligent. They were checking out all your friends and they were that, you know what I mean? Like you want to make sure that from across the room, you can get the eye contact and be like, you good?
Mm-hmm.
Do I trust you? You know,
Right.
like, are we still connected? And that's
Yeah.
the same shit you should be looking for with your dog. Well, obviously not on a romantic level because that's kind of weird, but you should definitely be checking in a way that's like, okay, how can we make sure that everything is copacetic? You and me, like we're fine no matter what it is. If it's another dog across the street, if it's a stranger with a hat on, you're gonna look at me and be like, okay, leader, what do we do from here? You know, I don't need you to move forward and make a job for yourself. That's not what I need out of my job. I mean, sorry, that's not what I need out of my dog.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a dog I didn't get a rescue for them to start creating jobs for themselves, stressing themselves out. That's not necessary. I want to have a peaceful relationship with you, and I just want to go on a Zen ass walk. Like, is that too much to ask? You know? Yeah. And and you don't have to worry about corrections the whole time. You don't have to worry about whether or not all these external factors, they are going to become smaller the more you cultivate your connection with your dog, and it needs to be immediate. That, how soon can you get that eye contact? Start in your driveway, you know? Okay. Start in really small places. Stay still. Go to Starbucks, whatever. If you need to take the edge off, go for a bike ride and then do place at a Starbucks or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you have a working breed, like a German Shepherd, a Red Heeler, or something, a Border Collie, you absolutely need to take that edge off. Like do something that just burns energy. Play fetch, like jolly ball, flirt pole, bike ride, anything that you can to take the edge off, and then focus on what matters. Like here, I gave you what you needed. Soon, like you'll notice after a long period of time, they're going to need that stuff less and less because the way that they burn their energy is through working with you. But sometimes at first, at the forefront, especially with rescues and stuff like that, they just have a bunch of pent up stuff they need to get it out. So, and as soon as when they do get that out, they're a lot more malleable. The information like settles in a lot nicer, you know. But the more consistent you are with that, like I've had some dogs, they'll go for like a 30-minute bike ride. Maybe a month later, they only need 15 minutes, and they're like, okay, actually, I'm ready to work. Like, what do we do now? You know? And it all really just depends. Just gauge the energy. How much of this excess do I need to cut off right now? How much do we need to burn? You know, until you listen to me. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does.
Good. I didn't even go through the list of questions. I was like, yeah, send me that. I'm definitely going to get a journal out, write them all down. Yeah, I didn't do any of that. I had so much just come up out of nowhere. So but I feel like this is going well. What about you?
Yes, I definitely do.
Good.
I love the information, and it's just nice to talk things through and talk about things, and especially you never know what someone listening will be able to take from it, or if they hear something and it makes them think of something else and make them go, oh, hey, you know what, this thing is happening. So no, this is really good. I love it. There was a video that I saw that you posted, and you were using something that looked like a cat toy with one of the dogs that you're working with. Like it's like a long, like that stick and the feather thing.
Do you have your video on? Do you have my video on? Can you see my video?
No, your video's not on.
Well, let me try to describe it to you then. Like a pole with a
Yeah.
string on it, and then there's like
Yes.
something like 2 flaps and a squeaky toy in there. That's called a flirt pole. It's by Squishy
Okay.
Face. Yeah, you can look up
And-
Squishy Face Studio.
Okay. So
I'll
what?
send it to you right now.
Yeah. What is that good for? What does that work in a
It
dog?
channels so a lot of the time when I feel the need to use it, it's because there's a little bit of excess prey drive that they just need to expel. And the same thing I do for the Jolly Ball. Like for some dogs, it's really prey oriented. That extra edge just to burn it off before they're even receptive at all. And for some dogs, it's just a bike ride. But if you try to take the prey-driven dog on a bike ride and they're going after rabbits and other dogs the whole time, you know what I mean? Like they just need to expel different things, and we need to get creative about that in a way that's harmless. So so that's what the Flirt Pole is for, and the Jolly Ball. And generally toys, tug. We have some trainers here that do bite work. It really helps out. It takes the edge off. In the same way that I will let my dogs chase and chase and chase and chase and never kill. They're always asking me for permission before putting a lizard out of its misery. They're like,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and but it kind of takes that edge off so that it's not so because they are predators. There is something there that it's just going to be there, and I would say yes, you can work through it. A lot of the time you can work through it to the point where it's manageable and you can have it under control, but it's just always going to be there. They're predators, they're not prey. Like prey is goats, prey is horses, but they're predators. So that some dogs have a higher prey drive than other dogs, and personally I have a dog that has really high prey drive, and I will get her. I'll let her off and not kill things, but she'll go into her little hunting mode. And then I'll get her like a really nice big raw bone and a raw steak, like when we get home, so that she can feel the victory of having hunted. And for that reason, I believe, this is just my personal opinion, she's a lot more balanced in socials. She doesn't go after the little dogs. She doesn't, she is very balanced in social settings because I satiate her needs in extracurricular ways. It's important to do that. It needs to come out somehow. My other dog, she doesn't have a whole lot of prey drive, so she likes a lot of interaction and massages, and she just kind of likes to. She's a working breed, which is ironic, but she likes to chase and then just relax. And but her first owner was like the biggest owner I ever met in my entire life, and he was just like training her to chill without even knowing it, So, and I love him for it. But she's like a working breed dog. She just does what she knows, which is chill. So, but yeah.
So where can people go to find different
barn hunts? You can they have like rats they put in these little canisters that are perforated so they don't die, but the dog hunts the animal, they place them in different places, the dog hunts, and it gets it out. And also for like border collies and I have a healer, and this was recommended to me. I haven't done it yet, but this was recommended to me. You can take them somewhere and they can herd sheep. They can do all the things that satiate their primal instincts, so that you don't have like a whole lot of pent up energy that turns into different things like dog reactivity or like there are anxious things that she will do if I go too long without, like she'll chew holes in the blankets and stuff. If I go too long without expelling that, she just needs an outlet, right? And my other dog needs an outlet for hunting, and it's all about just like getting your mind to be quiet and just notice these things. It's like, oh man, like you need something right now. Let me do a little bit of research. Let me figure out what that is because I care about you, and it's not about, I'm not going to force you into this perfect image of what I feel like a dog should be, because I'm more interested in being receptive to what it is that you need specifically. That's just the mentality that we should be approaching our dogs with.
Where can people find more information on like different ideas and tips and tricks to satiate those needs, like finding those flirt poles
Ideas
or
tips and tricks to what?
to satiate
Mm.
their needs for prey drive or for herding or whatever their specific needs are. Like, are there certain
We'll get connected with you know, I'm pretty sure if you're called and wherever you board at or do daycare at, they should have information on local businesses that do like gardens and stuff like that. Packaging, another one. Essentiates.
you say that
You
last
can
one
find
more time?
information. You want to, yeah, dock diving is a good one that satiates. Also prey drive, but then they can also swim, like for Catahoula
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, oh, nice. Yeah, I would say go to local daycare. Bring your wherever you bring your dog and ask them what's local here. How can I? Okay. That puppy socials and stuff like that.
Okay.
You just have to dig a little.
Yeah.
Gonna be local to wherever it is. Talk to people, figure thing, kind of
Yeah.
step out of your shell a little bit, ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll know. Your local doggy places will know what's around here. What can I do for my dog? They know.
Mhm.
They do it for their own dogs, probably.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. So where can people find you or learn more about
What else you got for me?
and the work? Where can people go to learn more about you and the work that you do?
Just go to my Instagram, and if you're interested in training, go to